So are cybersecurity professionals overworked? This is another fact or myth video. Let's get right into it. What's up, guys? This is Ryan from elevatecyber. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button as well to help get this message out here. Now, this is a series that we've been starting up recently called Fact or Myth. We are going to break down the common things that people say in this industry and determine, whether it is factual or perhaps maybe it is not. So this is one that I've heard quite a lot, is that, cybersecurity professionals, they overwork you. You're working crazy hours. It's insane. And you don't last long in here because it's just so draining, and you don't have there's no work-life balance, and you hardly have any time to do things beyond security. And this field is constantly evolving, and the threat actors never sleep, and so you have to constantly keep up with stuff. And if you don't, you fall behind, then you're screwed and all this stuff, right? I've heard a lot. I've heard it all, right? Now, what I will say is we should make a distinction here between cybersecurity areas, right? Disciplines, right? We're on the offensive side. There's a lot of people that are on the defensive side, even on the policy side, different things like that. So I can't really speak for those guys over there because I've never been in that role. I suppose if you were in a SOC analyst role, and you were responsible for maybe the monitoring of the network or incident response, most certainly you're on call and things like that, and crazy breaches are happening, especially to these high profile organizations nowadays. I'd imagine that is a lot more stressful job, and there's probably a lot of, especially when something goes down, some pretty crazy hours are being worked by those guys. I wouldn't doubt it, but I can't speak personally for those guys. I'm on the offensive side as a pen tester, and what I will have to say, at least for us, this is a myth. This is definitely a myth. My experience so far, about 6 years in the field now, is that we're not really overworked, and it's not what a lot of people make it out to be, is like crazy hours and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting around twiddling my thumbs by any means. There's plenty to do. There's plenty of work in this space, and a lot to stay excited about, busy about, right? But with that being said, I haven't experienced in any of the companies that I work for any ridiculous hours or things like that. The nice thing about being on the offensive side is that our role is 100% proactive, right? Whereas, a lot of times the defensive guys, they're, especially incident response, right? Response, it says it in the name, part of their job is to react to things that already happen, right? So you'll be on call, or you'll get the call, and you'll have to go in and put out fires and things like that. And I mean, a disaster recovery, right? I mean, I think the name speaks for itself, right? You're recovering after a disaster, right? Now, they do some pre-planning and things like before it happens, most certainly. But the nature of those jobs are just so much different than what we do as the offensive security guys. We are much more proactive on this stuff, so we don't have to worry. At least none of the pen testing roles I ever worked in ever had anything like an on-call schedule or anything like that, because we're just doing assessments on applications and stuff. The most crunch time as it can really get is if you have a bunch of app teams that they have a go live date coming up really soon, and they need to hurry up and get security approval so they can release to production on schedule, so they don't get penalized. And then they're on you, they're messaging you like, oh, what's the status on this or that. But even that can be avoided, right? If your security team is really stern on having them make sure that they get the requests in a timely manner, and they're going to want to work with, you're going to be incentivized to work with you on this as well, because they don't want to be in that situation either where it's crunch time and we're having to do things last minute. So if they put in the request in advance, if you really drive that home, and hopefully they follow suit with that, and they do put their request in advance, you won't really have to worry about this all that often, really. So I wouldn't even say that that's too big of an issue. But if there is any such thing as like a lot of work going on, maybe if you have a ton of requests come in, And especially it can kind of vary depending on the time of year for us offensive guys. A lot of times, like I said, especially if you're doing a lot of the web app stuff, you're kind of following in similar schedule to a lot of the app teams, because they're making changes to their applications, and then you're doing security testing on maybe the changes, or maybe you're doing security assessments on just the overall app. So it really depends. Different security teams set it up differently, but if you're doing a lot of the web app pen testing, especially, you're not going to have to worry too much about it. And also, like I was saying, depending on the time of year, there might be hardly any work. Like towards the end of the year, normally, like, November, December, a lot of people are going on vacation for the holidays and things like that. And so a lot in the development cycle at a lot of companies during that quarter of the year, there's a lot less development going on, a lot less projects. Right prior to the holidays is normally when it's crunch time for the developers. They're trying to get all their projects completed before the holidays come around so that they can kind of coast through the rest of the year. So what that means is that, you might not have too many assessments that you have to do towards the end of the year. It'll be a little bit more free time, a little bit more relaxed. And, similarly, like I said, before that, it might be a lot more involved. So something to keep in mind there. But for the most part, it doesn't get crazy like a lot of people say. Now, maybe that's true for them in their position over at the defensive side. Like I said, not sure. Let me know what your experience is with that, if any of you guys worked on the defensive side. If this statement of, they're overworked in security, if that rings true with you, let me know down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear about what it's like for some of you guys over on that side of the house. But let me know what you think down in the comments section below. If you have a different experience on the offensive side, especially, I would love to know about it, because so far this has been my experience. It hasn't been too bad, but at the same time, it's definitely been enough that I'm not bored or anything by any means. I just want to reiterate that. If you guys are afraid you're going to be bored, you're definitely not. There's going to be stuff to do. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had for this one. If you want to get started on, OSCP, or maybe learning some of the technical side of this stuff to be a pen tester one day, definitely check out What You Need to Know for OSCP. It's on the screen right there. I'll see you over in those videos. Thanks for watching.